Hey folks, Roland Martin here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I tell you, our mission today is to how to recondition a rod and how to make it a better rod than what it was. Now, I get a lot of comments. They say, Roland, how come you have so many rods? Well, over here, look at this. This is my big saltwater selection. I got Fenwick rods. I got B.A.S. Pro Shop rods. I got every kind of rods. I got rods that I've made myself. At this point, Favorite, who's my current contract, they don't make a big saltwater rod. So I have all these other rods. Okay, that's one big deal. And when I go out and I fish for groupers and all those kind of things, that's my complementary rod. Okay, let's over here, we got a whole different ball game. Now I was talking about having a contract with Favorite rods. These are a lot of my favorite rods right here, and they're just wonderful rods. But why do I have so many other rods? Well, let me just show you something. Here's an old B.A.S. Pro Shop rod that's new in the case that I had a contract with. Here's an old Fenwick rod that's new in the case that I had a contract with. Here's an old Roland Martin rod that I was trying to sell and didn't sell, and they're new in the case. Anyway, I got 3 or 4 other rods, but again, I have a couple hundred rods that are brand new. I've never used them. I mean, because I give them away and I give my friends and stuff, but I can't use them because my current contract, of course, is with my Favorite rods, and I love them to death, and I just love Favorite rods. But I have all these other rods. I don't throw them away for a very good reason. Let's show you this reason. Well, over here in this corner, here's 100 rods, and guess what? Every single one of them broken. Every single one of them have problems. There's a broken handle, broken butt, broken everything. Everything's broken. Everything's got a broken deal. But hey, let's talk about broken rods for a second. All these guides, what's the difference between a $100 rod and a $150 rod? In most cases, it's the guides. And so let's look over here on my bench. Okay, let's look over at my bench. Let's look at some of these old broken tips. Like, for example, here's a bunch of broken rods. Now, it doesn't look like much. You say, well, what happens when I slam a car door in one of my favorite rods? Well, there's a couple things. You can send it back and ask the guys at Favorite, well, I slammed the car door, and they may or may not replace that rod. Or you could tell them the truth. Maybe I set the hook on a big carp or something and some kind of fish and it broke the rod. In most cases, they'll honor the warranty and you'll get a new rod out of the deal. But don't throw the old rods away. These old pieces are worth a lot of money. Each of those guides are worth a couple dollars a piece. And here's what I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to go back over in this corner right here. Okay, let me show you my favorite. Okay, here's my favorite rod of all times. This is a wonderful rod. That's my Emperor series. But guess what? Hey, I got one little guide that's off. Hey, no problem. I got all those other guides over there from those broken rods. So I have plenty of guides. Okay, that's one rod. That's a super deal. That's an easy fix, but very important. Okay, let's take another rod. Okay, here's one. And here is a rod. And this is the Big Sexy series. But look at that. Look at the rod tip. The rod tip might look all right, but I'm going to tell you, it's got a broken insert. That rod tip has a broken insert, and I got plenty of rod tips. Hey, and I get the rest of the guys are, let's check these 2 rods and let's fix them. Okay, let's take these 2 rods that I'm going to recondition and get all squared away. Now in this box, I have all sorts of rod tips and rod guides and rod cement and rod everything. And so that's one thing I'm going to do. But before I get started, let me just show you something that happens with rods that people don't realize. What happens with almost all of these rods is that sometimes there's a crack in the ceramic guide. Now, if that happens, the line was going to be compromised. It's going to be cut a little bit. Maybe not a whole lot, maybe you don't see much of it, but you're going to have a weaker line. Any crack in the ceramic guide is going to cause you problems. So the first thing I do with any rod, when I want to, even rods that are perfectly all right, I just check this a lot of times. I'll take a Q-tip, a regular standard Q-tip, and I go around that guide. No little filament stuck there. Go around that one. No little filament stuck there. I just check all these guides and make sure that they're all in good shape. Okay, that's the first thing I want to do. There, I'm missing that one there. All those rods, guides are fine. Okay, let's take a guide. I need to get one from right here. That's kind of silver right here. Okay, that's the right guide right there. Let's cut this guide off because it's broken anyhow, and that one there is all broken. But that one, check it with the Q-tip. Sure enough, it's a good guide. Okay, let's cut it off. Cut it off the rod. Okay, boom, it's off the rod. I got the guide. Okay, guide is perfect. Perfect guide. Now, let's take this existing rod. It just fell out. The wrapping is still there. I'm going to take my glasses just a second. But I'm going to take this rod guide and come in right here and see if I can't just place it back into that, underneath that guide wrap right there. Okay. Let me just kind of move it along. Okay. It's going down. It's going down on the wrap. See how it's going down on the wrap? Okay. That's a good deal. Straighten it out just a little bit. There's a couple ways to fix a guide. There's one way, the easy way, and I'm going to show you two ways, is to take some crazy glue or super glue like this one, and just come in right at the base of that guide, and put just a little tiny bit of glue there. Okay, that's a quick fix. But I'm going to show you a better way as well. But right now, I'll just go ahead and show you what I'm going to do. Okay. Now, why'd that guide fall out? Well, it just didn't have enough glue on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up this special epoxy. This is a big deal. 2-part epoxy, and it's something that you can do with all your rods. I don't care what, if it's a saltwater rod, freshwater rod, a fly rod, you can do this exact same thing with any rod. I'm going to take a little brush, okay? And I'm going to come around over here on the other side of the bench. I got a rod wrapping machine right here. Let's get that going. Okay, let's come around this way. Okay, let's just show you what this rod wrapping machine is. What the thing is, it's got two functions. One, it wraps the rod fast and puts the guides on, which I don't have to do right now. Another thing, it's for a dry deal. When I turn it on dry, you notice this thing's spinning real slow? That means that whatever I put on the guide, whether it's a varnish, whether it's a cement, I can go slow and it keeps it all around. If you don't spin the rod slowly as your varnish dries or as your epoxy dries, you're going to have lumps of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take the cushion button off the rod. Okay, that's just to add on. I'll stick it in a rod deal. Okay, now when I turn it on, it's going real nice and slow. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, this is an epoxy. Now, a lot of times people use a rod varnish or a rod guide cement, but I like a regular epoxy because it's just tougher and tougher. Okay, now, reason why those guides fell out in the first place, they weren't epoxied in. They were just kind of lightly done, and again, any rod you have, you can do this with. Let's just take a part A, put it in the deal. Let's put some in there. It's nice and clear. Okay, let's take part B. Let's pour it in about the same amount. Same amount. Okay, that's it. Now let's take my little brush and let's stir it up. Do. Okay. That's real good. Now, here's the deal. The guides fell out in the first place because they just weren't enough cement on them. So I'm going to just go around the cement here, and I'm just going to dab it on there. And I'm just going to get plenty of them on there. And then also around the agate. You know, see, that guide itself, some of those little things fall off. So I'm going to get in there. Again, I'm going to go ahead real slow and easy. And that's it, all perfect. Okay, now let's go to the second one. Second deal. Again, I get the agate. I got all around that insert. If you epoxy that, then it won't ever come out. Some of these things come out. So I'm going to, again, just put an epoxy coat on that wrap. It's going to really strengthen it, and it's going to really make it a big deal. Okay, again, epoxy around the insert, epoxy around the reel seat. Here's a single wrap. This is Some of the guides on some of these rods just have a single wrap, and they're the ones that fall out so easily. So you have to kind of be careful of that. But if you get the epoxy in there good, it really helps, okay? We've checked the guides. They're in good shape. They're not cracked. They're perfect. This is, again, my favorite rod. I gotta use this. Man, I can hardly wait to go tomorrow. I'm gonna flip up a big one with this one, boy. This is my good rod. And it's been reconditioned to the point where the guides aren't gonna fall off. The inserts aren't gonna fall off. It's completely reconditioned, way better than it was. So, that's the first step. Now, there's another rod I had here a minute ago. Okay, now this rod has a bad insert on the tip top. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut that off. Cut the guide right off if I can. And do that. Heat it up a little bit. See if that'll do it. Let's see if that comes off now. Yep, came off. Okay. Now dress this up. Get all this goo off. Right there. Okay. Tip is ready to go. I need another new tip. Okay. Let's find a rod now that has about the same diameter thickness here. That's about the same diameter right there. So, let's take this tip top, which is a little big, but that's right. And let's cut it off the rod. No big deal. Cut it right off the rod. And heat it up. Heat it up. Oop, there it came right out. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this rod cement, take a little bit of rod cement, and put a little bit of rod cement on that tip top, just a tad, just a tad. Okay. I'm going to heat this tip top just a tad. Okay, I think that ought to do it right there. That ought to do it. Let's come in the front of this thing. Sure enough, got some good stuff. I've been that guide back. Okay, hey, that was a quick fix. I put the rod cement on. It's the right size guide. Everything's fine. I'm gonna let it cool down. All my guides are in perfect shape. I'm ready to go. Well, I tell you, so don't ever throw these little tip tops away. When you have a broken rod like this, these are worth, in many cases, several dollars a guide. I mean, a set of guides can cost $10, $15, $20. So, I mean, save these things, and it's really good. Of course, if you do break a rod, see if your warranty will cover it first, and then fix it yourself. But the Q-tip's a good idea. Check for those cracked guides. The super glue is a quick fix, but if you really want it good, epoxy it. And boy, you got a rod that'll hold up forever and ever. So that's my deal on how to recondition a rod, how to get going. Folks, I'm hoping I'll taught you a few things about rods and reconditioning them. And we will talk again soon. And thanks for watching the channel. Hey, hit that likes button.